Hello, and welcome to Read With Me Pittsburgh. My name is J. Roger Davis. Read With Me Pittsburgh is an adult literacy developmental reading program designed for the heart, the mind, and the soul to assist our most vulnerable neighbors. Today's story is White Bird. You can see that? White Bird is a book written by Clyde Robert Buller. Looking at the cover of this picture, the cover on this book, what do you think the story is about? What do you see? You see a little boy, you see a bird, you see a cabin in the back. What time period is this? Look at what he's wearing. Where are they? Take a look at the background in the picture. We should be able to answer all of these questions as we read the story. Let's start with chapter 1. And we see a farmer there, or someone in the garden. We see the cabin, we see a fence in the background. Stay here. I found him. I saved him from the river, said Luke. It's for me to say whether he goes or stays. Hannah, said Will. He may be right. No, I won't have it, she said. John Thomas is going with us. So Hannah is certain that John Thomas is going, the baby is going with her. By the next evening, the Barlows were ready to leave. The 2 wagons were loaded. The horses were tied outside the cabin. The cattle were in the pen waiting to be driven away. John Thomas slept in Luke's cabin that night. In the morning, before the sun was up, Luke took the boy from his bed. He dressed him and carried him outside. John Thomas was half asleep. Where are we going? He asked. You'll see, said Luke. He led the boy into the woods and up a hill. They stopped behind 2 big rocks. The sun came up. They would look out between the rocks and see down into the valley. They could see the Barlow's cabin and the people out in front. One of the women went to Luke's cabin. One of the men went to the edge of the woods. John Thomas started to go to them. Luke pulled him back. Don't let them see you, he said. You see that? So it's like they're looking down at them, but they don't want them to see them because they're getting ready to go to Mississippi and start a new life in the valley. But Hannah doesn't want the baby to stay with Luke. She wants the baby to go with her and the rest of the family. The sun rose high. The Barlows stood in front of the cabin as if they were not sure what to do. At last they got into the wagons. The wagons began to move. Slowly they moved up the trail and out of sight beyond the hills. John Thomas kept going to the Barlows' cabin to look for Will and Hannah. Are you coming back tomorrow? He would ask. I don't think so, Luke would say. After a while, John Thomas stopped asking about them. He almost forgot they had ever lived there. Every day he followed Luke. Luke talked to him and told him stories. All the stories were from the Bible. Did Moses live here? Asked John Thomas. No, he lived across the sea, said Luke. What is the sea? Asked John Thomas. It's water. It's so much water you wouldn't believe it, said Luke. People sail across it in big boats. How big? Asked John Thomas. As big as this house. Bigger, said Luke. I want to ride on one, said John Thomas. Well, you can't, said Luke. The sea is far off. As John Thomas grew older, He helped Luke more and more. He worked in the fields and garden. He carried water from the spring. He cut wood and brought it back to the cabin. "You're quick to learn things," Luke told him. "You could learn your numbers if you put your head to it." He taught John Thomas to count. He tried to teach him to read. They had only one book. It was a big black Bible. It took a long time, but John Thomas learned to read the Bible. He learned a little writing, too. "What's in it?" Tad went closer. "It's a bird. It looks like a white crow." "Is that what it is?" "Yes," said John Thomas. "I never saw such a thing before," said Tad. "Look at its eyes, like little red lamps." "Oh, you're a pretty bird." He reached into the cage and tried to feel the bird's feathers. "Don't hurt it," said John Thomas. "Oh, I couldn't hurt it," said Tad. "What's his name?" "I call it Whitebird," said John Thomas. "That's not much of a name. I give it..." Let's take a look at that picture there. You see the bird? That's the cage that John Thomas made for Whitebird. So he's able to put him in the tree. He's able to take him to work with him today when he's working in the fields, just to keep him safe so he doesn't get lost or missing or eaten by other animals. "I call it Whitebird," said John Thomas. "That's not much of a name. I'd give it a better one if I had it." Tad was looking into the cage. "I want this bird. Give it to me." "No," said John Thomas. "I'll trade you my knife for it," said Tad. John Thomas shook his head. He took the bird out of the cage. "What are you going to do with it?" asked Tad. "Put it in the woodshed," said John Thomas. "I've got a chain that's part gold," said Tad. "I'll trade you that and the knife too." "No," said John Thomas. He took the bird to the woodshed. Lynn Tripp was saying to Luke, "Well, we'll be here all night. Is there room for us in your house?" "There's more room outside," said Luke. "You're not very friendly," said Lynn. "Nobody ever said I was," said Luke. Me and John Thomas went into the cabin. The Tripp brothers were left outside. When John Thomas woke in the morning, Luke was up and dressed. "Where are the people?" asked John Thomas. "Gone," said Luke. John Thomas took corn and water out to the woodshed. The door was open. He was sure he had left it shut. He looked inside the shed. "Whitebird," he said. He looked behind the pile of wood. The bird was gone. "Luke," he called. Luke came out to the cabin. "My bird is gone," said John Thomas. "You didn't open the door, did you?" "No," said Luke. "Then he turned it loose," said John Thomas. "That boy wanted Whitebird. Maybe he took it." "He didn't take it," said Luke. "How do you know?" asked John Thomas. "I saw him," said Luke. "You saw him?" said John Thomas. "You let him take it and didn't tell me?" Whitebird by Clyde Robert Buller. It sounds like Luke is stuck in his ways. I think he has a view of the world that he wants to keep for himself, that makes him happy and is safe for him. But John Thomas wanted to go into town. He wanted to find his bird. He found things that he loved and he wanted to take care of. Unlike Luke, which is sad. We hope you enjoyed this story. And thank you for watching Read With Me Pittsburgh. We hope you have a wonderful day.